This episode should not be used as a substitute for medical or mental health advice. Individuals are advised to seek independent medical advice, counseling, and/or therapy from a healthcare professional with respect to any medical condition, mental health issue, or health inquiry, including matters discussed on this episode.
Hey, good people. Do you always feel like you got to do everything to make everybody else feel comfortable?
Is it really hard for you to say no? Well, you might need to set some boundaries. Stick around.
Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. Another episode. We're so glad you're here. You've been so faithful, and again, we've prepared. We've been excited about being with you again. And so we want to talk tonight. We're just glad that you hung around. We want to talk tonight about boundaries. And we're so thankful for all the material that's come up, a lot of books around boundaries.
Lots of books.
Yeah, because we're finding that it's necessary to set boundaries with people.
Yeah.
Statistics are showing that the number of narcissists in our midst are growing. So upwards of 6% of the population, statistics are saying, these folks have narcissistic tendencies. And that's a lot when you think about it. And so you in a room with 100 people, you're thinking about, it's going to be some narcissists in there. So, where you at? They're there. And maybe you thinking about somebody out there that you know that is an invalidator. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
And so Lauren and I were thinking that would be a good topic to consider. And so this is actually part 2 of our talk on boundaries. And we're going to recap some things. We're going to talk about boundaries, and we're going to give you some good ideas about how to maintain your boundaries. So Lauren, just get us started.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So we'll just recap for you guys. What are boundaries? What are boundaries? I want you to be thinking about when you hear the word boundaries, right? What comes up for you? For me personally, it's a wall, right? That just comes straight down. Boundaries. It keeps somebody out, some things out, some unwanted entities out. It just sets a distance between me and whatever's unwanted, right?
Yeah.
So the definition that we have for you tonight is boundaries are expectations and needs that help you to feel safe and comfortable in relationships. I'm going to read that again.
Yeah.
It's really important. I don't want you to miss it.
Yeah.
Boundaries are expectations and needs that help you to feel safe and comfortable in relationship. We want to emphasize those 2 words, safe and comfortable.
Yeah.
We're finding that in relationships, if you feel safe and comfortable, the quality not only of your relationship, but the quality of your life is going to increase. You'll be happier. You'll be more at peace. You'll experience longevity, right? So we want to make sure that we implement these things because they keep us safe.
Let's linger right here. I think it's important too.
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't even think we have the right to do that. We feel like, because when I think about boundaries, you said the image for you is a wall. For me, it's the Heisman. It's like,
it's a hand on the head or the hand on the chest.
Hey, it just depends on how tall you are. It just depends on, how tall I am. So I'm just going to hit you. I'm just going to hit you.
Right.
But I'm going to need you to stay over there because I'm going to need my personal space, and that's important. And I think just recognizing that it's okay to be safe.
Yeah.
And you have permission to do it.
Right.
We're going to be talking about in a minute the personal Bill of Rights. And maybe you guys have never heard of that. But there are rights that we all have that are personal, that you can maintain, and you don't need anybody's permission to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so those relationships, as we're setting up the dynamics, and we want them to be reciprocal, we want to make sure that we feel safe and we're communicating that with people, what that means. For me, boundaries mean what's okay and what's not okay.
Right. Right.
So that right there, that's
Simply
okay.
put.
Yeah. That right there,
That's
not okay.
Right.
So the voice raising,
not okay.
If you're above 5 decibels, if the sound is 0 to 10, we'll just use that. That's simple.
Right.
And your voice is above 5,
Right.
it's not okay.
Right. Right.
Because why? Why?
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
We're higher order thinkers. We can communicate, and we don't have to scream at each other,
Right.
right? And so, but that's safety,
Mm.
right? Because tone and the volume,
Right.
all of that.
Right.
So talk to us.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
we'll keep with the recap. Signs that you need boundaries, right? These are indicators, y'all, that you need boundaries. And a hit dog will holler. So let us know in the chat, in the comments,
Yes.
if some of these resonate with you. They resonated with me. So let's start off. Neglecting self-care. That's a sign that you need boundaries. You're forgetting to go to the gym. A lot of things that we hear in our sessions are, I don't have time. That's another way of saying, I'm neglecting self-care, right? It sounds better. It's more acceptable in society.
What does that mean? We don't have time.
Right. Talk
Because
about it.
in when we did the episode before
Right.
the boundaries part 1, we broke it down and we talked about it. And we, after going back and listening to it, we were thinking, you get in a new relationship and you forget about your friends.
Right.
You're not hanging out with your family, you're not making time for the things that you used to make time for.
Right.
You might need to set some boundaries so you can remember that the will of life, right? There are other areas of our lives that we want to make sure that we have time for, and different types of boundaries. We're going to talk about that.
Right.
But when we're not doing those types of things, like taking care of ourselves, doing things, going to the gym, going to get a massage, or the things we used to do before we got booed up. It's almost cuffing season, y'all.
Yeah. It's getting cold.
It's getting cold, and people going to be trying to get in these relationships.
Right.
But remember, do the things that you were doing to take care of yourself.
Beforehand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make that eternally important.
Yeah.
Make that of the penultimate importance. We cannot emphasize that enough.
Right. Absolutely.
Because that is what's going to communicate to people what's okay. If you respect you and your boundaries, you're communicating to other people that is the expectation that you do the same.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
if you don't, if you draw a line in the sand, then there are people out here that are going to wipe that line out.
Right.
And you're going to have to draw another one. But if you just say, if you Heisman,
Right.
well, if it's a wall, it's a wall.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Second point is you feel overwhelmed. We talked about that in the last episode, Boundaries 101. We went into depth. Just feeling overwhelmed constantly, right, is a sign that you need boundaries. Number 3, you feel resentment towards people asking for your help. This sounds like, here she go calling. I know what she want. She always ask for money. You're complaining, but what they do?
Cash App. Zelle.
Hey.
Venmo.
But you're the one who got pressure in your chest because you answering the phone, right? Or just feeling frustration towards people that you love because you know that they're always asking for help. That's a sign that you need boundaries. The next one, we talked about that, avoiding phone calls and interactions with people that you just think are going to ask you for something, right?
Yeah.
You make comments about helping people and not getting anything in return. I'm always there. We hear a lot in therapy. I'm just such a nice person.
Yeah.
I'm the nicest person in my family.
I would say, Drake, nice for what?
What? I know that's right.
Nice-
Absolutely.
nice for what?
For what?
Yeah.
To feel like what after? Pummeled?
Well, and nice without boundaries, though.
Right.
I can be nice.
Right.
I can be
Loving.
kind and loving.
Yeah.
But I'll also be bitter, angry, and resentful
Right.
if I don't set the boundaries. Let me just talk about the feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So you and I know that a lot of our clients come to us and they're talking about, I feel whatever, right? The feeling becomes an emotional state, right? And that could be sad, angry, whatever, that emotion, hurt by something. And when we don't address that, and we feel overwhelmed or we feel unsafe, then we go into a secondary emotion of rage, anger,
Right.
just avoidance, whatever, because we don't want to experience the primary emotion because it's uncomfortable to feel dismissed by
Right.
somebody.
That's when the blow up happens.
Yes, come on,
cussing folks out.
Yeah, you're trying to help
absolutely.
y'all. So I got to tell you now, what we're doing now.
You're like, what did I do? Right.
I mean, really?
Right.
But it's a powder keg, right?
Right.
Because the primary emotions aren't being dealt with and the boundaries are being just disrespected.
Yeah.
So over time, you feel like these folks aren't even listening to me. I was on the phone with somebody earlier today And there was a process and a policy that they had. And I was trying to get some information that I needed them to email to me. And she said, well, she was sending me to a certain form, and she said, but I'm just going to make 2 clicks and then you won't even have to call again. And I said, well, now why is that a part of the process that I would have to call and spend 30 minutes on the phone out of my day anyway, when you could have just clicked those two clicks of a mouse and then the issue would have been resolved on your end. And she pretended as if she didn't hear what I said. And I said, ma'am, I said, I do want to share what I don't know if you heard me, but I'm going to share this again. You're the being heard, and that I'm not going to take that pressure and then meet with you later on in the day and give it to you. I'm going to address my primary emotion of frustration there.
Right.
And it went, I mean, she didn't listen.
Yeah.
She may not even.
Which happens.
And it's cool.
Yeah.
But guess who didn't have pressure in their chest after the call?
Absolutely.
Because when we feel overwhelmed, it's because we've not communicated what was going on in the
First
inside.
with ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not honest with ourselves.
Validated it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we've talked about that. So y'all, we're staying here a little bit longer because in Boundaries 101, you know, we kind of went through this kind of quick.
Yeah.
But we wanted to park here and kind of begin to unpack.
Right.
It's those emotions that if I don't feel safe in my relationship,
I feel unsafe.
that part.
What happens when we feel unsafe?
Yes.
We tend to defend.
Yes.
Well, it's fight or flight, right?
Absolutely.
You fight.
Freeze
Yeah,
or fawn.
Absolutely.
All
Fight
four
or
of them.
flight,
Break
freeze
it
or
down.
fawn.
Talk about
All right,
it.
I'll talk about fight or flight. You
Go
got
ahead.
freeze or
I got
fawn.
you.
Fighting is what we just talked about, blowing up.
Yes.
Right? Going off.
Volcano.
A lot of us like to say the powder keg, the bomb has
Get you
gone
red.
off. Right.
I'm going to get you red.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Flight is I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm leaving as soon as I hear that volume increase in your voice, I'm out the door.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as I feel disrespected, I'm out the door. Right? Freeze or fawn.
Well, freeze.
Right.
Numb.
Yeah.
And that is a common secondary emotion.
Yeah.
Numb.
Yeah.
I just don't talk about it anymore. And fawn. So that is the latest of those responses
Absolutely.
that when our sympathetic nervous system has kicked in and we feel triggered, right? These trauma responses. And some of us, maybe you're out there and you're like, all I can do is just leave.
Yeah.
Then leave. That's better than turning up and catching a case.
Right.
What?
Right.
There's no excuse for abuse.
Right.
Never.
Absolutely.
Never.
Right. So just to kind of continue with the signs that you need boundaries, 2
But
more.
I got to talk about fawn.
Oh, okay. Talk about fawn.
So I got to talk about fawn.
Okay.
So fawning is this idea of, I'm just going to people please.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to lay down.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do whatever you say.
So you're a yes man, woman, boy, or
no
girl.
boundaries.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's why we're talking about that tonight. The fawning is the quintessential go along to get along. Maybe you're out there and you've been doing that for 30 years. I absolve you of that. Let's serve notice on the fawning response. Go on and get you a therapist so you can learn some assertive communication. And make no mistake, we will be doing an episode on assertive communication. Right? Because it's very necessary.
Yeah, for healthy relationships.
For healthy relationships. Conflict is going to be inevitable. You're going to have it in your, and if you grew up in the time and the space that I grew up, maybe you heard things like, children are better seen than heard, and you being disrespectful. So we never learned how to communicate our feelings as children.
Right.
What I wish is that in middle school, there were classes about assertive communication, healthy relationships.
Absolutely.
That's why we do what we do.
Right.
Holla at your girl.
Right. Absolutely. Holla at your
Because
girls.
we really, girls, because we really know the impact of really teaching folks. You have a personal bill of rights. You have the right to speak up for yourself.
Right.
But that's fawning. We don't have to go along to get along.
Absolutely.
You can speak up, show up for yourself.
You've been absolved.
Yes, that part.
Tonight.
Yes.
Or today, whenever you're watching this. You no longer have to do it. Absolutely.
You got it.
Okay. All right, let's talk about it. So you feel burnt out. That's another sign that you need boundaries. What is burnout? Well, it's just like it sounds. It's like when a candle is on its last little flicker and then it's done.
Yeah.
You can't regrow that candle. You got to buy another one, right? So to avoid burnout, we want to set some boundaries. What does burnout look like, right? For some of you, you may feel tired.
Yeah.
For some of you, may feel physically tired, mentally and emotionally tired. For some of you, might be really irritable. Anybody can ask you anything. You're just so burnt out that somebody taps you on the shoulder, you turn around like this. You ready to go, right? That's another example of burnout. Neglecting yourself. All of these could be under the umbrella of burnout. But you don't have it anymore, right? So we want to help you to find it. And to find it, you can start by setting boundaries. All right, and then the final sign that we talked about is you frequently daydream about dropping everything and disappearing. I had a client today actually say to me, I'm ready to just move across the country, right? I'm ready to go. That is a sign, not that you're ready for a vacation, because we all ready for a vacation, amen? That's a sign that you need boundaries. Sometimes, and I'll share this, when we think about boundaries, typically we think about another person, boundaries with another person. Sometimes we need to find that note within ourselves, right? You've signed up for everything. If there is a sign up table, you got your name on every single piece of paper. You need to take that eraser or that pen and scratch your name out. Leave one, don't have six. Sometimes you have to set the boundary with yourself, but that comes from working within, right? Realizing that I need rest. I need to recharge, and my worth and value isn't in how many things that I can sign up for at the church, okay? We love the Lord and we love the church house, but I'm no good if I'm walking around burnt out. I'm no good if I'm greeting people like this.
You mean I'm singing in the choir and I got H-E double hiker sticks in my heart?
Correct.
Okay.
No heaven.
Oh, man.
Right.
Man.
just the bad place.
But when you were just describing this, how you watching the news and they show a lady and she's missing and the family is looking for her and then she pop up and she in California and she got a hat on and she, and we're laughing about it, but she didn't have no boundaries.
Right.
I mean, didn't feel like she could say no, got overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Y'all,
Burnt
this
out.
is a real phenomenon.
It's real.
We watch it on the news and y'all know y'all have seen it too.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe you're out there right now and secretly in your heart, you're like, I know what it feels like to really want to do that. Like your client,
absolutely.
right? I mean, if we keep it real.
Yeah, and we do that.
Well, let's just settle for a moment and give ourselves permission to feel the feels. And if you've gotten to that place where you're like, I'm really just over it, I need a vacation.
Right.
Then go on and look at the PTO and see if you could make that happen for yourself.
Check your budget.
But in the meantime, in between time, take your little mini vacations throughout the day and call a couple of those committees or when people come up to you and ask you, just let them know, you know what, I really need to step away. There's a season for everything. There's a season and a time for everything. And maybe, just maybe, it's time for you to play the background for a little bit. And that really is
There's
okay.
things to learn in the background.
I learn more when I'm not talking. When I'm listening, I learn more. When I'm watching,
observing,
I learn more.
When
I'm doing what I know.
Right.
When I'm talking about what I know.
Yeah.
We just kicked some knowledge for you.
Yeah.
If you've tuned in with us before,
take that little red thing, put it back about 30 seconds.
Yes.
Listen to it again.
Yes. The knowledge. But if you've watched this platform before, if you've watched our show before, we're going to come with the knowledge first.
Right.
Because that is the beginning of wisdom, the knowledge, right? Knowledge is power. So we just laid out, we just kicked some knowledge, a whole lot of knowledge about why are boundaries necessary? What are boundaries? And what are some signs that you need them?
Right.
And so the knowledge is there. What's next? What do we need to do next?
After knowledge, we want to understand. We want to understand we want to understand more about boundaries. So we want to share with you the 3 levels of boundaries. We want to reiterate those, right? Yeah. So we've got 3 levels. First is porous, right? Then there's rigid, and then there is unhealthy, right? So what do porous boundaries look like? Well, that looks like oversharing, right? Hey,
why do we overshare?
Because we scared. Oh, we scared. Somebody that just word vomit, you can't even finish a sentence and they already talking. Maybe it's you. That's okay. You might have porous boundaries. Just the oversharing and the over-explaining, just like Dr. Lakeba said, Mom said earlier, I just want to absolve you of that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to over-explain. You don't have to overshare. And if you feel like you do, it's okay.
Give us an example of
Ask me a
oversharing.
question.
Lauren, can you keep my child on Thursday night?
Oh, Thursday night. I think I'll be able to, knowing you're not, but I'm gonna have to check my phone and I'm gonna have to check with my partner just to make sure that everything can happen. But I can let you know, maybe I'll let you know sometime Thursday, if that's okay.
Okay, so I'll call you Thursday. Ring. Lauren, are you gonna be able to keep my child?
Girl, no, I thought I was gonna be able to keep your child. I'm sorry, I know this is so last minute, but what had happened was goes down the
whole
list of what
spiel.
had happened.
Okay.
This could have been
Avoided.
avoided. Okay?
Yes.
With an easy, take a deep breath if you have to. Girl, I ain't gonna be able to keep your child.
Mm.
A lot of the times, we're so afraid of somebody saying why.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they will say,
Okay.
because they're too busy trying to figure out
Find it.
who
They
can
try-
do it.
Listen. They don't care.
No, they don't. Not worried about it. Not worried about it. Are you worried when somebody tells you no? Are you like,
But you
okay,
know what
that's
will
fine.
be an issue?
Mm.
Me calling you on Thursday and then you saying no.
Who's the problem then?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you didn't tell me. You
Right.
could have just told me.
Yeah.
Right? And
Absolutely.
so then maybe we have a fissure in our relationship because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we lie because we're scared,
Yeah.
but we don't need to be.
No. Sometimes if you feel that nervous feeling when somebody is asking something of you and you're like, oh, I may have porous boundaries, sit with yourself for a second and ask, what am I afraid of? I ask my clients that all the time.
Ooh.
Sometimes they don't like it. They don't like it. They be like, I'm not scared. What you mean? Afraid? But if you really sit with yourself and ask, there's something there. There's a root there that's causing you to move the way that you move. And when you're able to examine what it is you're afraid of, most of the time you can absolve yourself of that fear because you recognize it's not immediate. You're not in immediate danger.
Right.
Everything will be okay. Right?
There's no threat. So porous boundaries are kind of like sponges. Stuff can get through them.
Yeah.
They're not, like you said, it's not a wall and it certainly isn't a Heisman.
Right.
It might be like a church hug.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So oversharing underneath that is codependency. We'll do a whole nother episode on that. People pleasing. Where my PPs at? My people pleasers. Hey.
I know. Get your T-shirt.
So many guys.
Hey.
Get your T-shirt.
Yes.
So many people. Another way to say people pleasing is yes men or yes women. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can. They always running. Running. You know, you got to think about some people. It might be you. I'm just envisioning that person that's just always, you feel like they're always running back and forth with stuff in their hand, doing stuff. Those are porous boundaries, right? Accepting mistreatment is an example of porous boundaries. Like you said, Mom, like a sponge. Things can just get through. Anything can get through.
You mean people can say anything?
They can
talk
abuse
to you any kind of way?
verbally, physically, emotionally, sexually, right?
Spiritually.
Spiritually.
There is no excuse for abuse. That is another reason. I mean, that's the second time that we've shared that on this episode, and we did share it on part 1 as well, because there is no excuse for abuse. And if you're out there and you have been mistreated and you have poor boundaries, porous boundaries, go ahead on and call you a life coach or a therapist and get your couch on.
Yeah.
Talk about what's going on with you. Get the help that you need to start to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That was
You're
needed.
welcome. You're welcome.
So the next level, rigid. Rigid is just like it is. Imagine somebody, when you think of a rigid person in your life, maybe you, what are they doing? Most of the time they got their arms crossed or they got their nose scrunched, their mouth scrunched in. They're rigid. You know, if you're thinking about asking them a question, you look at them, what you know they're going to say? No.
No to everything.
Every single time.
No to everything.
Right. What does this look like?
So Shonda Rhimes came out with this book, The Year of the Yes. Like she said yes to everything. The rigid person would be like, oh, no, I will, that's not me.
Absolutely.
Not going to happen.
Absolutely.
Because they're rigid.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And it's reasons that they're that way.
Just like it's reasons that.
The poorest person is that
Absolutely.
way.
So what does this
Yeah.
look like? Well,
Yeah.
this looks like never sharing. You guys are all eating lunch.
Oh.
The person with rigid boundaries is quiet.
These are
whole
extremes
time.
because the
Right.
poorest person overshares. The rigid person
Never shares. Absolutely.
Okay.
Avoiding vulnerability is another example of rigid boundaries. If it's difficult for you, and I mean really difficult for you, to be vulnerable with a person that you deem to be safe and comfortable, you may have rigid boundaries.
This is what Brene Brown calls excruciatingly painful to be vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah,
It
don't
almost feels like you're
share.
holding it down.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
like fingernails on a chalkboard to
Really
even
difficult.
open up rigid boundaries.
Absolutely. Having extremely high expectations of other people, you're always disappointed. You're always disappointed because you have these high expectations, and if they're not met, well, nobody's human.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you have those expectations of yourself, right?
And since everybody's human,
Right.
that's the truth.
Right.
We got to find our way to the middle. Those are both extremes.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up on this.
Absolutely.
Somewhere in the middle, you find the healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
And we did, we went in depth on this on part 1. But Lauren, take us out with that
Sure.
before the Bill of Rights. We want to end with that.
Yeah. So healthy boundaries. That's probably somebody that's not rigid, but they're not porous. They're right in the middle. They're clear about their values. They know themselves. They know what's important to them. They're listening to their own opinion, right? They're comfortable with saying no, and they're comfortable with hearing no.
Oh, it
So they're
goes both
comfortable
ways.
saying no, and they're comfortable hearing no. It's
Yes.
free flowing.
Reciprocity.
They share appropriately. They don't overshare,
Oh.
and they don't never share.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's an example of healthy boundaries, and that's what we want to strive for.
Yes.
Mom, I'm always calling you Dr. Lakeba.
okay.
I'll let you take us out
right.
with the personal Bill of Rights.
So the personal Bill of Rights, you did such an excellent job on that. I feel like I can do it. You've
Yeah.
inspired me.
Thank-
I hope you out there, you good people, I hope you're inspired
Right.
to begin to set those boundaries and to know that you have the right to.
You can do it.
The personal Bill of Rights, I have the right to ask for what I want. I have the right to say no to requests or demands that I cannot meet. I have the right to express all my feelings, positive or negative. I have the right to change my mind. You have the right to change your mind.
Last minute?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And like we shared in part 1, you might get some smoke for it,
Right.
but you got to be here for it.
Right.
Right? Because the people that are there for you are going to be there for you. I have the right to make mistakes and not have to be perfect. I have the right to follow my own values and standards. I have the right to say no to anything when I feel that I am not ready, it is unsafe, or it violates my values. I have the right to determine my own priorities. I have the right to not be responsible for other people's behaviors, actions, feelings, or problems. I don't have to rescue people.
You don't have to.
I have the right to expect honesty from others. You're out there and you're wondering if you have the right. Something in your spirit tells you that you do. You're right. Lauren said, listen to that. Listen to the voice within. I have the right to be angry with someone that I love. I have the right to be uniquely myself. I have the right to feel scared and say, I am afraid. I have the right to say, I don't know. Well, one thing we do know, you know what to do about boundaries.
You got
the
it.
wisdom for me tonight is, I know how to set boundaries now. Do it.
Yeah.
Wisdom is you have to think of it this way. Joyce Meyer says it this way: sanctified common sense. Now, with God's supernatural on your power, the power you already have on the inside, your natural power, his super on your natural, you can set these boundaries. And the wisdom tonight is transformational knowledge. This will transform your relationships.
Yeah.
You can do it. What you got?
You know what to do. Just do it. And if you need a little bit of help, like we talked about earlier, reach out, right, to a licensed professional counselor, life coach, whoever you feel like can help you along your journey. We want you to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Fresh Hope Today. We also want you guys to follow us on Instagram at Fresh Hope Today to get the latest updates on the videos that we drop, the information that we share, and what we have coming up.
Yes, if you have enjoyed this material, share it with someone else.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah. This episode should not be used as a substitute for medical or mental health advice. Individuals are advised to seek independent medical advice, counseling, and/or therapy from a healthcare professional with respect to any medical condition, mental health issue, or health inquiry, including matters discussed on this episode.